At this point, I want to delve into a deeper idea behind male and female and see also how it plays out in our lives as guys and gals and relationships. And we'll get into some details here, okay? But in a general kind of way. So here goes. One of the principles of ancient wisdom is that for everything that exists, it has both a form and material. Anything that exists has form and material. And what we mean by that is, for example, imagine you're making star-shaped cookies. So the material is the dough, and the star-shapedness of the thing is the form, right? And so it's almost like the dough is actualizing, concretizing the form. The form is there, it exists, but it's brought forth and actualized, and you have now a concrete, practical substance and thing that's been produced in that shape, in that form, by way of the material, by way of the dough. And so this is the relationship of form and material. And so what I want to say is that this is essentially the concept of male-female as we've described it. Male is the concept of giving forth energy and potential. It's that specific direction. It's the energy. It's looking forward. It's the visionary. It's the goal. But how do we get there? How is that concretized? That's the concept of material. Right? Material, to the extent it's able to go ahead and receive that energy and potential, take that from a state of potential to a state of actualization, live that out in a real practical way. This is the relationship of male and female. Again, you have nothing without both. But let's see how really this plays out in our own lives, because this means then that male is very much wound up and bound up with this concept of form, right? With this concept of specific direction. That's the perspective it's coming from. And female is coming from this concept of material, this concept of actualization. And the male concept in general is going to be yearning for its completion through female. And the female concept is going to be yearning for its completion through male. Right? The form is going to be yearning for its completion through material. And material is really yearning for its completion through male. And so therefore we're going to want to see how this concept of form and material, male and female, play out in relationships. And the way we're going to do this is we're going to break it down to 3 levels here. Right? We're going to break it down to the levels of really mental, emotional, and physical. What I like to call mind, heart, and body. But really essentially what this is mental, my perspective, where I'm coming from. Heart or emotional is how I passionately relate. And then physical is practical relationship results. What's actually happening here, right? So let's start with the guys, right? Again, how do I be a efficient and effective form, right? What does that mean? So on the mental level, where am I coming from? It's very simple, right? I want to give energy with follow-through, right? And one of the ways I'm doing that is also I look to refine myself before refining others, looking inward, right? Meaning to say that it's very easy and it's very reactive to go ahead and to cut other people up, right? But that's reactive. Real proactiveness is deeper. Real proactive is, yes, it's energy, but it's energy that's focused, right? So first I go ahead and I look to refine myself, and then ultimately that helps me to build others. Because if not, if I'm reactive, so then I end up just cutting up other people, and a whole path of destruction follows behind me. This means, in a sense, to see the soul. And what I mean by that is that to be able to go ahead and to look into people. Well, first, of course, myself, but also to be able to look into my people. Give energy with follow-through means that I'm focused in on that person and seeing who they really are, what they're really all about. I'm able to see the good within them and the other things that have been affected throughout their life. I'm able to leave that on the side. The negative things that come up, of course, sometimes I have to deal with that, but it's not defining that person for me. What's defining that person for me is who they really are, getting into the crux of who they are, right? Judging them in that particular way, right? Really gets to their core, it makes them feel understood, makes them feel accepted, makes them feel valued, and this is getting past my first nature. A lot of times our first nature, our gut nature, is to be reactive, is to respond, is to a gut autopilot, right? But the idea of being a true male, a true visionary, a true having that direction, having that vision means to be able to have a deep vision, means to be able to get past what's being presented at first, the surface-oriented stuff, and get a little bit deeper, right? So this is the place we're coming from, again, mentally. Where is the perspective I'm coming from? I'm deep, I'm focused, I have a vision, I'm following up on that, right? And that actually takes us to the next level, right? The heart, emotionally, how do I passionately relate? It means to basically be your brand, like they say in business. Live out the person who you are or who you should be, and be that type of person. Meaning to say, starting in relationships, right? Be the type of be that gift that keeps on giving in your relationship. Embody good traits, right? And follow through on your commitments. And be, like they say in modern society, be a man up. Right? Live out those positive traits in a way of control, assertive, but in a control, positive way. Right? And by the way, also being your brand also means, and perhaps even more of a priority, is to live out your personal purpose, to live out your vision, to live out the reality of who you're supposed to be. And that means that a lot of times she will test you. She will change her mind. She will complain. She will doubt you. There'll be ups. There'll be downs. But really, what is she seeking in all of that? The truth is, she might not even know it, but the deeper side of herself wants that you should go and follow up on your passion, follow up on who you're supposed to be and what you really are. Because if you are not you, then she can't trust you to be you. If she can change you by her motions, movements, whether they be physical, psychological, emotional, if she can change you and take you off your mission statement, so then she can't trust you to be who you are, right? So that means to say, don't change who you are for what she feels, right? And when you go ahead and follow up on that passion, follow up on who you're supposed to be, follow up on your purpose, then she can be secure in you, knowing that she knows where you stand, knowing who you really are, knowing what you stand for. Right? And she can, so to speak, melt into you. She can, so to speak, attach herself to you. She can go ahead and cling to you and feel taken care of and feel like she knows who you are. Taking this down another level, let's take this to the concept of body, action, practical relationship results. What it means to be formed is to focus in on the one in front of you. Right? That means no rubbernecking, right? And if you're from New York, you know what rubbernecking is. It's when you have a bunch of people in traffic, and usually you can have traffic because there are too many cars on the road because there's an accident, but what do you know? You're waiting around in traffic for 20 minutes, and then you finally get to the issue, and it turns out that really the issue is that there's a car on the road and everyone is slowing down to see it. Rubbernecking. They turn here, and then when they finally get to the accident, then they start zooming ahead. Right? Means to say a lot of people have rubbernecking in their relationships, in the way they interact with people. Especially this holds by singles as well. Right? That they go to some single scene, right? And at first they, oh, hi, how you doing? And already by the how you doing, by the doing, already they're looking behind that person they're talking to see who else is out there. Right? But no, that's not male, that's not form, that's not being focused, that's not being driven, that's not being directed. No, it means focusing in on the one in front of you. And that means quality time. It could be less quantity, but more quality. But as long as the time you spend there is with that person is real, so then that's really what they want. That's worthwhile. Right? And that, speaking of which, this also means, here's another principle, come home, show up, right? Be there in a quality way, have a meaningful conversation, put the phone down. Right? That means, that's the concept of focusing in. That's a male concept. Right? And by the way, nowadays we also need to say the opposite. Right? Which is now when we're in a situation now in the world where so many people can just work from home. Right? And so the truth is now, as much as we like to say sometimes, hey, come home. Now there's another statement we've got to make, which is get out of the house. What are you doing there all the time? Male-female dynamic is going to work very well when there's like some newness in the relationship. There's some freshness. There's some separation, then there's coming together, then there's separation, then there's coming together. It's supposed to be a union, but a union from a place of separateness, right? But if you're always together, if there really isn't any separateness ever, so it becomes dull. It becomes like cardboard. It becomes, the inspiration is much more difficult to keep up. So my personal advice to people when I'm counseling is You should be out of the house for 4 hours a day. At least 3. At least. I mean, most people is not an issue. Most people is more. But there are certain people who, listen, their job's upstairs. They're sitting in their office in the basement. Right? You got to be out of the house at least 3-4 hours a day. Right? In order to open up, and that she should, you should be going places. That's the idea. Right? So, and then you come back. Don't forget to come back home. Right? And then hopefully it's more real. It's hopefully more qualitative. Right? And to take this down one more level is also, here's a good principle for you. Point by point is not the point. Meaning to say that a lot of times, you'll have your gal come over to you and say, hey, what are you laying there on the couch for? Why don't you go out and get a job? Right? Imagine the response when if you tell her, well, actually, honey, next week I actually have 3 job interviews lined up. So you've answered her, right? Well, 5 minutes later she comes back, yelling at you about being in front of the couch, right? Because can you hear the idea that you can answer up all the points, but it's the mentality, it's the vibe, it's the energy, it's the direction, or lack thereof, that you're giving over. That's the problem. So you can answer her point by point, but point by point is not the point. It's about who are you? Are you driven? Do you have a vision? Are you following up on that? Maybe she sees some potential in you, you're not doing it. Well, you're not going to complain later she doesn't have respect, right? You got to get up, you got to go ahead and be that concept of form, right? Be driven, make those moves. That's the male concept. Give forth energy, and if you're doing it right, you're doing it, giving over energy with follow through.